Hey, and welcome to Fit with Turo Fitness Podcast, a podcast for people who want to get no BS information about fitness and know that fitness is about so much more than losing scale weight. It's about feeling confident in your skin and empowered in your life. I'm your host, Turo Virta, personal trainer, strength and nutrition coach, and most of all, a husband of my beautiful wife, Miriam. Each week, my guests and me will give you some no BS fitness tips and motivate you to take action in your own personal fitness journey as we talk about nutrition, exercise, mindset, personal development, and executing in life with enjoyable but still effective strategies. If your goal is to look better, feel and be strong and experience transformation from inside out, you, my friend, are in the right place. Thank you for jumping in. And now let's jump into today's episode.
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much, Shelby, for your time to come to my podcast, and very, very welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So awesome. So to get started, tell me a little bit and to my audience who you are. I would like to know that, first of all, what you are doing professionally, non-professionally, and one thing, what you are proud of your fitness.
Okay, that's a big question. So let me start professionally. I am a clinical psychologist by training, and I see patients for anxiety and depression all the time. But my main area of specialty that I'm best known for is something called behavioral sleep medicine. So for many years, and I'm board certified in it, but for many years, I worked in a sleep center here in New York City. And most people, when they think of insomnia, especially, they think medication, at least in the United States. That's what a lot of people think right off the bat. And I actually work using evidence-based methods to help people sleep better. So insomnia, sometimes nightmares, all different types of sleep disorders, sleepwalking, sleep talking. And I worked along with the MDs there to help people sleep better, whether we needed medication or not. Now I'm in private practice and I see patients for, like I said, anxiety, depression, but I also do a lot of sleep work and I work with babies through older adults. And I absolutely love getting people sleeping better. It's like a really fun job. And then personally, I live just outside of New York City. I'm married and I have two little kids. Well, not so little anymore, 6 and 12. And they keep me very busy. So I really get the aspect of sleep and sleep loss for parents, especially. And it's also living in New York City. Like, it's just a very busy environment, even with the pandemic. And then also I'm a big runner. So the fitness side, I know that your audience likes this a lot. So I run, since about 2008, I started running, and I started because I went full on. Within a year, I trained myself to run a marathon. And since then, I've run 17 marathons, with number is 18 and 19 coming up next month. So I'm doing the Boston Marathon.
Wow.
I run a lot, strength training, but kind of periodically when I'm not hardcore running. So I understand like the athletic side of it too.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds like that you don't have to worry about what you are doing in your free time, right?
I get up really early, and I know I have, like you said, I have to run in the morning. That's what I know I always need to do.
Yeah, awesome. It's also something like that, getting something like doing something also for your fitness. Obviously, you have probably priorities like your family, your work, what you are very passionate, but still having, and that is what is the most common thing with almost everybody who have some kind of success in their life. They have some part of fitness is always part of their life and taking care of their health and own body.
And I think that's an important point, because when I was practicing in my early days, in my early 20s, mid 20s, I loved what I did, but I was heavier than I am now, and I was very out of shape. I was a big athlete in high school, and then I didn't work out for years. And I realized that I was telling all my patients who had sleep apnea, who really weren't breathing well and snoring a lot, I was like, you need to really get some movement, work out a little bit. We need to work on maybe some weight loss because it will help with your sleep apnea and your breathing at night. But I wasn't following what I preached. And it was one of those things where I realized, like, I need to actually start practicing what I preach, and people will start taking me more seriously. And I don't expect people to go run marathons, but I wanted to be taken seriously. So that's really the main reason I started doing it. And it stuck because it became a habit.
Yeah, no, but that is actually what I see a lot with fitness coaches, doctors. they might be very good at giving advices, but then they still struggle by themselves taking those advices what they are telling to other people. So it's not that if somebody is like is overweight, it might be that he could be or she could be a great coach, even she is not able to do those things or not prioritizing those things in their life. And like for you, probably like can imagine that at some point priority are your family, your kids. You know, it's that, and that's totally okay. And then later on, you can change that priority and find more time for your own things too.
Exactly. And I like that I was able to speak from experience of just not exercising and hating it and hating running. Talk to patients about what it's like to start. So I know what that's like. So it makes it, so it's something that keeps me motivated because I talk to people about it and I like to practice what I'm doing. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Then I wanted to go for sleep, like as many and these days they are struggling with sleep. And as you are specialized with behavior sleep medicine and doing some non-practical or like treatments without any medication. And so if you don't know what is insomnia, like, because I learned from your Instagram posts that for short time insomnia, long time insomnia, and when it's time to start to get worried, like obviously nobody can't expect that you sleep well every single night, but when that becomes a problem and a consistent habit, when you supposed to start to get worried.
Yeah. So like you were saying, no one's expected to sleep perfect every night. There are some people that do, but those are rare people. And the reality is that insomnia in general is just trouble sleeping. It's either trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, or you wake up a little earlier or a lot earlier than you want. But then when we start thinking about it becoming problematic, is it starts to happen at least 3 times a week. So I don't have a perfect night every night. I have a bad night here and there in a week. And it's about letting it go and not saying this is going to define my day. This is going to define many days, because then it starts to string together. So if you start to notice that you're having 3 days or 3 nights a week of poor sleep, and then you start noticing that it's at least 3 nights, then you start noticing it's happening for multiple weeks. So 3-4 weeks. When we start going on a month, that's when you want to start saying, was something going on? What's happening? And 1 month to about 3 months is kind of short-term insomnia. It's still something you want to address, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a lifelong issue, or even a chronic issue. When it hits 3 months, that's when you really need to at least really see a sleep doctor if you can, or someone who's a specialist in insomnia, because now it's really met that chronic insomnia kind of criteria. And so even after a month, talk to someone if you need to, but if it's 3 months, definitely talk to someone.
Yeah, awesome. So, when you have passed the 3 months, like because I learned also like that who are the people who are usually struggling with this. I learned from you also that the women have like they have like a lot higher chance to have that insomnia, and especially when they're like during menopause and
women especially. What we find is that boys and girls have the same rates of sleep problems up until they hit adolescence. Then hormones change. And once hormones change for women and girls in adolescence, that's when we see the problem. So every month before a woman might have her period, that's when we start to see some women might have poor sleep. They have insomnia every month at the same time. And then, like you were saying, perimenopause and menopause, there's hormone changes then. And also pregnancy, having kids, working, all that stuff. And we tend to have more stress and feel anxiety a little bit more. So yeah, women for sure more than men.
Okay, so you are doing like this. I'm trying to do everything like with non-medical treatments. And so, what are top gold standard non-medical treatments for insomnia? Like what you would recommend?
So I always think of it as like a tiered approach. I say this all the time. So the first thing, if you're starting with just a few weeks of bad sleep, 1, 2, 3 weeks, like you start noticing, like we're talking about that short term, that's when all the stuff that you see online about sleep hygiene is fantastic. So the keeping a consistent bedtime, wake time, limiting the coffee, limiting the alcohol, that's all good stuff for really short-term insomnia. But if it's been going on for a month, 2, 3 months or more, The gold standard treatment that we think of in the field is something called CBT for insomnia, and that's my area of specialty. And I wrote a book on that too for women. So what it is it takes the sleep hygiene stuff, but that's only a tiny piece of it. So we change bedtimes, we change wake times for people to help them fall asleep faster and stay asleep more. We change what they're doing in bed at night. Usually people are lying there tossing and turning, trying to force sleep, getting worried, or they're on their phones. We change some of that. We might change their worries about sleep, the thoughts they have about sleep, work on challenging that. Sometimes we build in relaxation, meditation, acceptance treatments. There are things we do. So that's really the gold standard. And it's usually, it depends upon the person and the complexity, but I've had patients in 2 to 10 sessions usually do much better. So much better means they're falling asleep fast and they're staying asleep more. And I don't even see people weekly. I see them every other week. So CBT for insomnia is the gold standard. And then you can do it with a book. You can do it with a professional like myself. There are apps that are out there that are great. And then if that's not working, it doesn't work for everyone, then we think about medications. And then if medications aren't working, we think about other things like acupuncture, other not as evidence-based treatments, but that can help some people. So it's kind of like you're working your way down. But hopefully CBT for insomnia, which doesn't use meds, will work for you.
Yeah, no, that's I love those ideas. But what are there like if you're having like now times are busy. There is all the time we are coming out from COVID. Now there is a war. Like people are we have a life is busier and more stressful than ever. You know what are your thoughts, like how to manage your thoughts, like and the tips. What are your best tips to fall asleep or?
Yeah, I think if you're struggling with falling asleep routinely, you want to think about first of all, there's also the thing with like timing. Like sometimes actually people go to bed later we're thoughtful about how we do it, because actually it makes you more tired that you're not worrying as much when you go to sleep. Fall asleep a little faster. But I mean, you have to think about during the day, like what are we doing? Are we giving ourselves even 5-10 minutes to decompress? Are you checking, like you were talking about the war going on, right? Are we checking the news constantly? That's something I'm seeing so often with my patients. I'm seeing more people having nightmares because of the war. So it's thinking about, am I watching the news constantly? At least in the US, we have it on, a lot of people have it on nonstop on their TVs in the background. Are you getting alerts on your phone? So that's stuff that keeps you more anxious and kind of on edge all day without even realizing it. So turn that stuff off. Really just limit your news consumption to once or twice a day and not close to night. Make sure exercise is a big one, right? It helps with stress relief. So it doesn't have to be a vigorous workout session. It's going outside, 20 minutes of some bright light, sunlight, and just moving your body is helpful for decompressing your brain. And then at night, it's making sure that you're not just going straight and crashing into bed. Are you doing something to help wind down? Are you doing either meditation? Are you relaxed? I do a stretching routine every night. What are you doing to kind of quiet your brain down gradually without needing a screen, because the screen can keep you up more? That's helping to kind of decompress and put an end to the day. Yeah,
no, that I love those. Like that's what have been so big help for me. Like I stopped about a year ago. I'm not reading, watching news, or I try to limit myself as much as possible. Like obviously something you always get, but not on daily basis. Not checking like things. Obviously, you want to be sure or know. Like earlier was about COVID restrictions and stuff like that, but not to try to keep it in a couple minutes per day, so you know the most important ones, and focusing on things you can affect, and how to make actually myself feel a lot better. And other huge thing is like that limiting those sleep times, like going to bed, like and really going earlier, and closing all phones and everything, and not to get that distractions or blue light and those feelings, like you said, feeling angry, depressed, or you get all those feelings even you are not recognizing it from social media. So, but what I learned from you was an interesting thing what you said, and that made like about daylight, and what you said about morning. Like how you start your, could you tell a little bit more about it? Because that I found it so interesting.
Yeah, I think for years, people have been very focused on the wind down routine, which I do think is super important, right? Like you just can't crash into bed and expect yourself to sleep. But the thing in the sleep field that we always talk about that people are only starting now, I think because of Instagram, honestly, and other people are like putting it out there publicly, is the morning time. So we always talk about consistency in the bedtime and the wake time. If you are consistent with your wake time, getting up at the same time 7 days a week, and try to get some light at that time, that helps with falling asleep at bedtime, believe it or not, because it's getting your body's clock to be very set. So the body's internal circadian clock needs light and dark to keep itself set. So when you get up in the morning, if you give yourself 20 minutes of bright light when you're normally waking up, you don't have to have a light box. If it's dark out, just open your shades. If even a cloudy day is fine. But if you get 20 minutes of some light or movement, but just getting that light, it helps your body to basically wake up, wash away the neurochemicals that were there at night that were making you sleepy. It's alerting, so it keeps you awake a little bit more. And it helps you because now you're waking up better at that same time. It will help you be hungry enough for sleep at the same time at night. So light and getting up at the same time, in my opinion, are the two most important things that people really should be doing.
Yeah, no, that I can totally agree. Like when you are like we are at that age, like I'm 40, like I assume you are somewhere there too.
Little older, a few extra years on you.
Okay, no, thank you. But that those are like when you are younger, you don't pay attention so much to your sleep. When you are in 20s, it doesn't matter. You go out, you go party for a week, and you don't have the best night of sleep. You'll be a bit tired, but you will be okay. Older you get, so much more makes the difference. And now, like I used to go out a lot and having some alcohol almost every weekend. But now even I do still enjoy having some alcohol sometimes. But I really try to keep, when possible, those sleeping times. Those are so huge, like 7 days a week, like as close as possible. It might be for younger people, they might say that that's a sign of you are becoming old when you go to bed like 10 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, I'm sometimes earlier than that. No, but I think, the routine is important. What you hit on was interesting. Like as you get older, it gets harder to deal with the sleep loss. I know I noticed that myself too. And as you get older too, we tend to go to bed a little earlier and wake up earlier. That's just part of the natural process for many people. Yeah. But the flip side is that sometimes people, and I think I posted about this week on Instagram, some people become almost too rigid. And they're like, I have to go home. I have to go to bed. I have to do this. And that's fine. But if you start to notice it impacting your relationship, you're never going out to see friends. You're not doing that. That's problematic too, right? Once in a while to lose a little sleep, I would argue, if it's going to make you happy to see people and social, it's all about the entire person. Sleep is a big piece of it, but I don't want people to think that it has to be perfection 7 days a week, because then you're going to be miserable in the other areas of your life too. So
no, absolutely. But that affects you like everything. It's we aim to be as good as possible, but to be perfect, it's not to be perfect. It's a prison where you are not getting out of it. Like it's same with the nutrition, it's same with your workouts. Everybody want to be perfect, but it's not. You're supposed to be enjoying life also, and not aiming to do everything perfectly. So what I thought, what I was, how if for somebody who is waking up at the night and can't sleep throughout whole night, what you recommend for those people?
So if there's someone who's really multiple times a week, they're waking up a lot and they can't go back to sleep, I think first I would say definitely look into talking with a sleep doctor, looking into maybe CBT for insomnia, and also for people like that too, a very common culprit, can be sleep apnea, right? So what's sleep apnea? Sleep apnea is snoring, but it doesn't have to be the kind of really loud snoring that most people think. It's very faint for some, and women especially get misdiagnosed. They don't think they have it. They think they're depressed or tired during the day. They might be snoring a little bit, but it's not obvious. And it pauses in your breathing throughout the night. So it's little chokes or gas or pauses, and then you don't breathe for a second. And it actually wakes you up. And it happens multiple times an hour over the night. And most people have no idea it's even happening. And that is super common. And it's even more common now, I would argue, because of weight gain from COVID and the pandemic. So people really should, if you're waking up a lot and you're sleeping, you still don't feel refreshed in the morning, talk to your doctor about it, because that's one thing that can look like insomnia a lot of times, but it's a super common problem that needs to get addressed as well. Now, if it's not apnea, or apnea is happening, but it's still not great with your sleep, then really look into CBT for insomnia, talking to your doctor about if you need to do medications, and really consider, like, the other big thing I always tell people is don't lay in bed in the middle of the night if you wake up. So if you wake up and you can't sleep, don't lay there on your phone. Don't lay there tossing and turning, trying to force sleep, because that makes it worse. Instead, don't look at the clock. Just kind of give yourself 10, 20 minutes to fall asleep. But if it doesn't happen, go sit somewhere else. Do something like reading, some art, an easy crossword puzzle in dim light. Don't turn all the lights on. Don't eat in the middle of the night. And then if you get sleepy again, go back to bed. But make sure you get up at the same time the next day. Don't sleep in and don't go to bed too early the next night, because that's actually going to make the problem worse.
Wow, no, that's so great. So you say that it's because I personally I feel it's like sometimes, you know, especially if you have busy time, you have stress, something like you mentioned, and then you wake up middle of the night, you look time like it's 2 o'clock, and you know that alarm is there at 6 o'clock, or that you have 4 hours time. Then you are trying to force yourself to sleep. Then you look at the next time you watch, it's at 3 o'clock. Now I have 3 hours. Or same thing when if you have an early flight or something, you know that you have to get up earlier than before, and you try to make it, or at least I try to make it, push yourself too hard to sleep. But then actually what you say, it's kind of interesting that do not even trying to push and staying in a bed and getting up and doing something. I tried it sometimes, and it's working.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's the getting out of bed. A lot of people assume it's really meant to get you out, so you're sitting somewhere else and then you'll get sleepy. And that's not really the point of it. If you get sleepy, great. But if you go sit somewhere else, it's so that you're teaching your body that the bed is only for sleep and sex. So you're not laying in bed getting anxious, worried, on your phone. You don't do all these other things. Your body learns, nope, if I'm awake for a long time, I'm going to be outside the bed. The bed is only for sleep. So the more that you get out of bed if you can't sleep, the more you're going to train your body what the bed is for. So if you do practice the getting out of bed thing and you don't get sleepy, don't get discouraged. Don't think it's not working. That's not the point of it. It's just to teach your body that the bed is only for sleep. And I think we're also a big, at least in the States, we're big on like trying to control everything in our lives. We want to have control of everything. Yeah. And the more you try to control your sleep and get worried about it and try to force yourself to sleep, guess what? It's worse. Sleep is the one thing that you really can't control to let it happen. It's a natural process. So the less you think about it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. Like just shortly, if you get up, if you can't stay on sleep, like first of all, no, like that was huge change for me, that leaving my phone away, not using it as an alarm, like because it was always when it's on my like. When I work with the people who have problem with the sleep, as it's a huge thing for weight loss. And then what we usually look, how is sleep? Sleep is not great. You having your phone, but I need it for alarm. Is that no, you don't need it. Leave it away from your bedroom and buy a real alarm or watching TV. Yeah, no, it's not costing anything, and it makes you think like that. You know, especially those moments when you are awake, that it's so tempting to take your phone and just check it out through night, and when you can't sleep, and it makes it actually just worse.
Yeah. Right. 100%. A lot of people fight me about the alarm clock thing, which is hilarious. I mean, it's such a simple thing. Why do you need your phone to be your alarm clock? And people are afraid they're going to miss calls. Well, guess what? You can set your phone across from the room and set it so that you have emergency numbers that can go through on your phone. So you don't get every text. You don't get every little alert. You can have it and still you can find ways to get around it. So your phone is not right there to grab in the middle of the night. And a lot of people are getting texts and stuff in the middle of the night, which does not help. Yeah.
No, I agree that those that it's you have to wind down and find a time for yourself. What about then? I'm like now it's a huge thing about those tracking your sleep. Like it's becoming so popular. Like I see you are having a watch. I'm tracking your sleep, tracking my sleep, and every morning like having a big smile that. Everything is green, you have slept well, and then when it's not the most optimal way, then you are kind of worried. But what are your thoughts about sleep trackers?
I have a very big love-hate relationship with them. So for years in the sleep medicine field, we use a version called an actigraph, which was basically like a movement detector. Excuse me. And we would use them more so to track general, like what time are you going to bed and falling asleep and what time are you waking up, but less so quality of sleep. I think they're really great, the trackers, for people who might not make sleep a priority in their lives and bringing attention to it. So if you're someone who goes to bed really late and you wake up really early, or you're all over the place and inconsistent, or you drink a little too much alcohol, or you're working out too late close to bed, right? Mm-hmm. I think that the watches are great, or the rings, whatever it is you're using. They're great to make you realize, okay, these recommendations that I've been giving, that my sleep field's been giving for years, actually make an impact. So it's a nice way to see that. And it helps people to say, okay, I got to limit these things because it will help improve my sleep. That being said, the hate part of them is that people are so obsessed with them that they let them judge how their day is going to go. So if they think they slept well, but the watch says you had a lot of awakenings and the watch said you didn't get REM sleep and all these things, then that person's going to start saying, oh my gosh, I must have slept poorly. And then it clouds your day. And then you feel more tired or problematic because the watch told you that. So if you're finding that it's creating, the watches are creating, even with making some small changes, if they're making you more anxious, if they're making you so fixated on it that you can't even judge how you might have slept without having a watch tell you, that's problematic. And when I tell people there are people who have insomnia who really just can't sleep and they use the watches, that actually worsens their sleep. So we tell people who really have chronic insomnia, don't even bother with them because it makes them more anxious about it. You don't need something to tell you already know is a problem. So love-hate relationship.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And what I have realized, things what you actually funny that you mentioned all of them, it's I use it to recognize trends and learn. Like probably now I'm that far that I don't actually need it. It's just funny fact because I love to tracking all kind of data, but it's funny to learn how everything is impacting. If you are having alcohol, how your heartbeat is a lot higher, affects on your quality. If you have I'm ice hockey referee and having games late at night, going later to sleep, and as usual having harder workout late at night affects to your sleep. Your quantity is not there as it's in a normal nights. Or if you have days that what you haven't, I haven't been outside, just inside, didn't have a movement or exercise, it affects everything to your sleep, filling your sleep. And that is, it's learning for me. It has been huge help to learn those trends. If you are, how you are eating, if you are eating too late at night, how it's affecting to your sleep. And sleep it's still so underestimated for everything. For weight loss, people are thinking that I eat healthy, but I can't lose weight. And then how is your sleep? Averaging 5 to 6 hours. That then you don't have to wonder why everything is happening. So those are they are just helping to recognize trends, but not like you said that if it makes you worried, it doesn't mean that your day is ruined. If you wake up and your watch is telling that it was not optimal or you didn't get all green lights there or whatever, so it can be still a good day. And it's just learning what I did. It's a tool to get as much information as possible and understanding why everything is happening. Because it's what I use for my coaching, for example, tracking calories. Yeah. It's more to become aware what you are eating, what you are doing, and then learning from those things. You don't need to track every gram of what you are eating, but if you have problem being overweight, learning from your current habits and then making some adjustments.
Yeah. And I think, but that's the key, is that when you get the information, the data, it's what do you do with it? The people who are really struggling with the watches and the data, it's just data. And then they just worry about the data, but they've tried making changes and it still has the data is not great for them. So that's when the watches aren't great. If the data isn't making any change for you, get rid of it. That's where you need to see a specialist. If it's encouraging, like you were saying, to change your workout times, change your alcohol, and you're seeing it improve, perfect. And know that they're also not perfect themselves, all these trackers, right? They're estimations of sleep.
Yeah.
So don't get so fixated on it was this much REM every night and this much deep sleep. They're approximations based on various things that are going on in your body. But the real gold standard to tell sleep staging, REM, deep sleep, light sleep, is by having an EEG on your head in a sleep study. And no one's doing that routinely. So just keep in mind that it's all approximate.
Yeah. No, that's good. Then about sleep conditions. What you are like? I got a lot of offers from working, doing some cooperation, and I worked with one supplement company. And what I most enjoy is working with one sleep company. And they are. I got new mattresses, new pillows, and how those sleep conditions, like those changed my how I feel, and how everything, like quality mattress and a pillow, how they improved my sleep and having to not have any pains or anything. And those were like, it was kind of for me like I didn't even realize before knowing better. Like if you have it's not something like mattress or pillow that you change it every year. It could be that some people have like mattresses. You should change them like they said 7-8 years. But and pillows, if you are not having a quality one, it can make it, for me, it makes, I recognize when I go to sleep somewhere else, hotel or in somewhere else, and not having my own pillow, makes huge difference. Do you have any experience with sleep conditions, or how they supposed to be?
So the ideal is think about it. I always say we were meant to live in caves. That's kind of how we were born. We lived in caves, right? Thousands of years ago. That's what our body needs. It needs a cave-like condition to sleep well. So quiet, dark, cool. Those are all caves. Comfortable, which is the thing that a cave really isn't, but cool and comfortable, right? So what you want to do is try to mimic those conditions, including the comfort in your bedroom and wherever you sleep. And the ideal is to be consistent with where you're sleeping, right? So people who have trouble sleeping sometimes start in their bedroom, then they end up in another bed, they end up on the couch. Try to be consistent with the same location every single night when you can. Now, that being said, people travel. That's part of life. So when you travel, try as best you can to mimic the quiet, dark, cool, and comfortable, right? So you can get light block. I think light blocking shades are like one of the best investments people can make. And if you go somewhere, when I travel, now you can buy like peel and stick suction cup kind of light blocking shades. They have all these different ones. I used to travel with black garbage bags and just put them on the wall, on the windows. And it makes a huge difference. My kids didn't wake up early. So you really want to have that. And then the comfortable part, when also I'll travel with like a white noise machine, or you can put white noise on a phone, which isn't always the same, but I'll use that too. And then the other thing is comfort. So you're talking about pillows, mattresses, all that sort of stuff. If anybody tries to tell you this one pillow will solve all of your sleep problems, run. No. Because it's not the truth. Everyone sleeps different. Everyone has different positions and comfort levels of what they like. Find what's the best quality. So hypoallergenic, you have a lot of allergies, best feel for you, what you like. That's the best quality and comfortable for you. That's the key. And if you sleep with someone else, then sometimes use like 2 different comforters on the bed. It's not pretty. I'll use 2 different comforters. That way you can each get your own temperature regulation, feel, all that sort of stuff. And if you travel, try to take your pillow. Take a favorite blanket if you can. I even bring, like I said, a white noise machine. I'll bring a picture. If I'm going away for a while, I'll bring a picture that I have on my bedstand so that it's the same environment that I'm kind of mimicking a little bit.
No, I love it. Like those were things like I was just not aware until you know better. You try quality. Like I had probably like the cheapest pillow what you could get, and now when you got first time in your life, like really quality one, how it's affecting and changing kind of everything. And other thing what I changed actually when I moved, what I see is the temperature. How cool is that temperature? Like we have so hot here in summer, and we don't have air conditioner. And now it was earlier like we were thinking like that you don't need it, but now I will do it. Probably I will redo it soon again. That it makes so huge difference that because once you go out somewhere like where it's a little bit warmer, couple degrees or Fahrenheit warmer than you are used to sleep, it makes so much worse. You recognize the difference right away.
And for at least for Fahrenheit, I'm terrible with Celsius. Fahrenheit, somewhere in the 60s to like mid to upper 60s is the ideal. Some people like a little cooler. I keep my house about 67, 68 degrees. And that works for everyone. So it's really about finding what works for you, but also your family, but cooler is better. Start with more comforters, strip them off as the night goes on, because your body needs to cool off during the night to be able to sleep better.
Yeah, no, for Fahrenheit, but 60 Fahrenheit is 15, 16 Celsius. So just check it out. So it's somewhere there where I try to keep it at least a bedroom, like for living room. That's something I don't want to stay with the 15 degrees or 60 Fahrenheit, but for bedroom, that's to having a actually colder, then you can go under a pillow and it's a lot better. So then a couple more things more about those people who are working at night. I get this question very often: how to make it improve, or are those like if you have to work at night and or you are traveling a lot and basically you are having a jet lag all the time. Like it's the same thing if you are shift worker. What are there some natural ways how to improve it or how to make it better?
Yeah. So jet lag is a little bit of there's similar body rhythm disorders essentially, but that one's a little bit of a different when it comes to recommendations because it's a more abrupt back and forth. Shift work people are ideally doing for a longer amount of time, but even though it's day on, day off or whatever it might be. So when it comes to shift work, your body needs a routine. That's the best way to teach yourself to sleep. And if you're working night shifts, try as often you can to keep it consistent. So some people work night shift some days, day shift the other, afternoon, morning. That's the worst thing for your body. So if it's possible, try to keep your shift stable. It's not always possible for people. If you have to work different shifts, try to get the shifts in a rotating motion forwards. Because have you ever noticed it's easier to stay up a little later than it is to force yourself to go to bed an hour or two earlier than you normally want to? So if you can, week at evening shift, then a week at night shift, then a week at daytime, then a week at evening again. So it's moving forward so you stay up a little later, which is a little easier to do than kind of all over the place. If it's just one shift that's always the same time, a lot of people also, which I totally understand, like on a weekend, what they do is they go to bed and they shift everything on the weekends to spend time with their family. So then they try and sleep at night, but be up during the day, which is so sweet. And I get why you're doing it, but that your body is going to have more trouble adjusting. So instead, try to find like a medium compromise. So maybe instead of going to bed at 11 p.m. on your days off, maybe go to bed closer to 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's not such a big abrupt day-night kind of shift, if that makes sense. So on the days that you do want to sleep at night, maybe take it a little bit later so it's closer to daytime so that it's not going to be so hard on the days that you adjust. And then when you actually do sleep, really protect the time. Cold, quiet cave. Have no one bother you. Turn your phone off. All those things to try and optimize your sleep during those times.
Wow, no, that makes completely sense. So it's not, obviously it's something what you probably know that it's not the most optimal thing. And what I learned, or I love to read something from sleep, and that's probably like, I don't know what is science is saying, like how much damage you are actually. Is there some studies how much damage you are doing? Like probably it's something what people don't want to actually tell what is the honest truth, like how much is affecting to your body and your health.
Yeah, the night shift stuff is some of the hardest, and like the rotating shifts. What we do find is there are higher rates of mood disorders, anxiety, depression, but also we find there's higher rates of prostate cancer, breast cancer in those groups. Not all types of cancer, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to have these issues. But some people, we do find there's higher rates. If you're someone who really struggles and cannot adjust to it, no matter how hard you try, you just might not be someone who can work those shifts, even though you might really need to or want to. You have to be honest with yourself about it because it might be a struggle. Some people just adjust to it a little bit easier, but there are higher rates of those things that happen. Why fully we don't understand, but I think in the next few years we'll have more understanding of why those rates are higher. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I think that there have to be, or there is so much new stuff. And as you are on a field, like probably you have already knowledge that how much it's affecting, because it's something like obviously, like you said, some people you want to do it, you can't think another way, but if you have other options, somebody have to do that job anyway. Like if I have had several clients who are nurses or doctors who have to work, somebody have to be there at night too. But
exactly,
it's not that's not the most optimal way for your health. So that's something what I wanted to talk. Is there just in general to be end? I understand you have to go, and it was so much pleasure. This was so much help. But in the end, what is what golden rules you have? Like just to summarize everything what we discussed. Like what is for health sleep? What you would say? Some couple rules. What to give.
Okay, so the first thing is consistency, like I was saying before. So keep the same wake time as you can, as often as you can, 7 days a week, and get light in the morning. And then try to be consistent with your bedtime. The other big things are really limit, everyone knows this stuff, like limit the coffee within 8 hours, or caffeine, limit alcohol within 3 hours. The exercise is really big. You want to exercise, but don't try to exercise within 3 hours of bedtime, because that can make it harder to sleep. So really try, and then also think about stress reduction during the day, not just right before bed. So take pockets of time during the day, whether it's meditation, journaling, going for a walk, something that helps to just kind of bring down your mental temperature a little bit to relax. And if that stuff's not enough, that's when you want, and it's not working after a few weeks of trying it consistently, that's when you want to see about talking to your doctor about other treatments for insomnia. It doesn't have to be medication, but definitely not letting it go and saying, oh, I tried to limit my coffee, it didn't do anything, and just letting it go. So we have lots of really good treatments out there. Definitely talk to a doctor. We want to get you sleeping better overall. Yeah,
awesome. So thank you so much. Just a reminder, make sure you follow. What is the best places where to follow you, where to find you? You said your book, everything, where to get stuff, and how to get contact. If there is somebody who want to work with you, get your help, follow your tips, where to find you?
So you can find me a few places. So honestly, the best place to find me nowadays is on Instagram. So I have an Instagram account called @SleepDocShelby. You can find me there. You can also go to my website, which is Dr. like Dr. Shelby Harris at drshelbyharris.com. And also you can email me through there if you have questions, but people DM me on Instagram all the time. That's fine if you have questions. I can't give medical advice though there specifically, but if you have questions about how to see me or anything else, I'm happy to give you answers. And then also, I have a book that came out in 2019 called The Women's Guide to Overcoming Insomnia, Get a Good Night's Sleep Without Relying on Medication. And you can get that anywhere books are sold online. It's very widely available.
Awesome. I can only recommend. This was so helpful, and I'm sure so many people will benefit you. So thank you so much again for being in my show, and hopefully to have you another time here. This was so much fun. Thank you so much, Shelby.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Hold up, friend. Do you love Fit Me Turo Fitness podcast? If so, the best way to say thank you is to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. I know every podcaster wants you to leave a review, but it's because those reviews help the podcast to reach more people. I truly want to know what you think, and if this particular episode resonated with you, would you also please share it? Either send a link to someone who you think will find it valuable, or take a screenshot and post it into your social media and tell your friends and family why they should listen it. Make sure you tag me so I can hear your feedback and give you a little love. And if you aren't already following me on Instagram or TikTok, that's the perfect time to hit that follow button. Thank you for being here and listening to Fit Me Turo Fitness podcast.